the base of the pyramid offers a wider narrative that is not simply either capital accumulation or redistribution. That's an important contribution to thinking about how poverty, systemic poverty, can be tackled in ways that do not continually require subsidy. That's an important contribution that BOP has made in terms of thinking and narrative. Whether it is making the contribution that it can do in terms of the scale of what it's doing across the world is open to question. And what, again, Professor Hart, I think, was good at was saying, look, this is, if you project forward what the bottom of the pyramid is going to look like, let's say it's $8 a day per person or 10 or whatever, that you end up with a diamond rather than a pyramid, is to some extent academic if, whatever the model, it's not ecologically viable. And there, if you're asking the people at the bottom of the pyramid to solve the environmental problems, I wonder if that is a fair ask, because it's actually the way that the economic system works in terms of its ecological footprint, which is owned by corporations and to some extent governments, depending on the politics. And so I think to some extent, I need to think this through, because I've not heard his presentation before, whether the shrinking numbers of people that are at the bottom of the pyramid, depending how you measure it, are the way to address the significant ecological problems, which are really to do with how production is done, food production, the use of water, and all those things, which are really in the hands of the major owners of capital. It's not really in the hands of the base of the pyramid. Although there are many of them, to ask them to be responsible for climate and ecological sustainability of the planet, I think is a big ask and may distract us from the responsibility of corporations, big and small, to reduce their ecological footprint. If I look at the thematic areas of this year's conference, I think it is a sensible entry to the bigger story that this summit is trying to start, and that education, healthcare, and livelihoods are almost no-brainers in terms of what impoverishment means for those at the base of the pyramid. So I think from the point of view of starting a process, choosing the more straightforward ones, female empowerment is a much more difficult issue, particularly in different cultural settings, but nobody's going to argue against education and health. They are safe ground, which is probably a sensible way to start. And from there, seeing how far you can approach much more challenging issues, which create inequality, which create gender differences in terms of welfare and gains. So I would say it's a good way to start a long process. This is a long game, if the environment gives us the time. And my worry is that it won't. It's already too hot. It's already too dry. There's already too little water. Do we have time?